that's in the report.
Well done. Have you haven't found any more applicants with damage? You mentioned the greenhouses might take months to find.
The one in my report, the one greenhouse I said was destroyed, that we just found out yesterday.
Okay. But you mentioned, I think, in there that there might be others that the owners, they're seasonal, they might not be here. Okay.
As they come back, it wouldn't surprise me that we.
Is there a window for them to apply to whatever possible funding sources there could be? Like, could they do that in June if they only discover this? Or?
Yeah, at this point, there really isn't much that's available to them other than that emergency conservation program, which is only going to help them with cleaning up debris, repairing fences, taking trees down out of.
But it's something.
It's a little bit, yeah. This is where we see in agriculture, when we have these kinds of disasters, typically this is what we run into. There is not much available to help them. But we do the best we can. We get the word out and share the word with the state and usually get the same message. So.
Okay, perfect.
Well, I think there's, the only thing I think could, I don't know who, everybody reads the report, right? But just real quick for the speaker coming in, the time and who it is and why, if everybody in this room can possibly be there, we want to fill that,
Sure.
auditorium.
Yeah. Dr. David Cole is a internationally recognized economist, especially focused on agriculture, but not just agriculture. He is invited into a lot of bank type conferences, financial conferences. He is an economist. He is dynamic, fun, and full of information. So we really want to attract more than just an agricultural crowd to that, and that's going to be my focus with this, and it's sort of why we're changing things up just a little bit, because it would be beneficial for the non-ag crowd to be there, hear what he has to say, and also be there with the ag crowd to see the similarities between both sectors of our economy. So we are having this, Jefferson Community College signed on to host the event. We're having this on Thursday, March 28th. It is the day before Good Friday. 6 to 7 will be our reception. We're working out exactly how that's going to work, whether the college is going to do it or if I have to hire somebody else in to do that. But there will be light refreshments and great conversations and networking. Then Dr. Cole will speak from 7 to 8, probably run a little bit over knowing Dr. Cole. And then from 8 to 9 will be a meet and greet with Dr. Cole. So chance for people to individually follow up with the doctor. So he is a JCC alum. He is originally from here. And he will tell the story, but I'll give you the little tidbit. One of his high school teachers told him he would never go anyplace. So he has gone. He will tell you he's traveled the world, I think, 7 times already.
Well, let's give that person the VIP.
Thanks, Jay. There's a lot of work that went into that.
Yeah.
And we'll touch more.
And thank you to those that served on the subcommittee to put that together. But yeah, very excited about it. I think it's going to be a great program. And as I said, we're going to work hard to attract the business versus non-business, or the business and agricultural sectors. I am looking for sponsors. You'll see there's a little example of a standalone X-frame sponsor type banner. So if anybody's interested in our top level of sponsorship, you get one of those for free for your office. So you have to throw the little trinkets out there.
Just heads up to Bill and his side, talking with Jay on. This is a perfect venue for a lot of locally elected officials, as well as, student population, as well as agriculture and business. So hopefully we can fill the room with and inform a lot of elected officials of give them some confidence to make tough decisions.
And we're hoping that moving it from the lunchtime venue to the evening venue might make that easier for everybody.
Anything else for Jay, or Jay, anything else?
Just one thing, did you get the layout of the changes to that project I sent you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did get those. Thank you.
With that, thank you.
Thank you.
Manufacturing data, right?
Actually, we've got our next joint Jefferson Lewis Manufacturing Alliance taking place March 22nd, was it?
Yep, 22nd.
So Robin and Mark have been working with the Lewis County School kind of looking at. We've actually got a meeting there this afternoon to talk about topics and agenda for them.
Any questions, manufacturing council? We'll move on to marketing, Marshall, and we can roll right into you and Joy going
Yes.
through the ARPA stuff.
Lucky, we don't have much to discuss on the grant, no grant approvals this month. But one thing that we have been doing, regarding the grants, Joy and I have been touching base with approved recipients who haven't done anything with their grant. There are a few out there that still haven't even gotten us the agreement per se. And while they're still in their time frame, that we want to reach out to them, figure out what their plans are, if they are going to be taking the grant. If not, if they just flat out say, I don't think I'm going to be doing that, it gives us an opportunity to go down our list. So that is something that we're working on now. But from the marketing side, a couple of things. Now is visitor guide season for our waterfront communities. So we're going to be continuing doing that. We always advertise in the visitors guide. They're all very well done, and we've done that for a long time. We have our annual JLI Economic Development Day coming up next Friday, which is something that, again, we always do over at Air Break. It's usually a morning and then a tour of their facility. And that's always a great day to talk to the JLI students and sort of discuss what we're doing. In terms of advertising, also, we mentioned we're going to be in Watertown Daily Times Progress Edition, which is their annual, it's not their business per se, but the Progress Edition is good. It talks about things like economic development in the future, things like that. We do have a couple of National Grid grants that we're working on. They're in process for electrical service infrastructure, cost relief, and as everyone knows, that can get pricey quickly. And so there's programs available through National Grid to help alleviate that cost. The annual New York State Economic Development Council meeting comes up next month in Albany. We're going to be heading down to that, Robin, Jay, Dave, and I. And I mentioned that no grant approvals this month. But that's it for marketing.
Sign up date for the park, is that,
For the park.
wasn't there a delay that they couldn't use stuff until this year?
Okay.
The sign at the entrance?
The sign at the end.
Now, that'll happen after the turn lane is constructed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Making sure.
I'm so confused.
I'm like, did that already get done?
Oh, it's beautiful. It looks great.
You know, just put like an AI generator on it like that? Okay, well, I didn't think I saw it.
No.
So that's maybe this year, or is that?
I can get an update on that during the IE.
Okay, I was just kind of
I
curious.
thought you meant Thompson Park for some reason. I was
No.
so.
I was
No, that's Lisa's problem.
Thanks.
We'll just leave that as that. Joy and or Marshall, anything to add on ARPA, then we can kind of just ask questions for marketing and ARPA all at once, because they're kind of intertwined.
Interesting fact, started paying out the tourism grants this month in January, so interesting. There are some that are starting to get working on that. It's ordering their items. They can't really do a lot right at this point.
Okay.
So
Along those lines, a question I have on page 26, looking at that report, local food resiliency and processing and production. One was allocated 100,000, the other 500,000. They're still showing that
We haven't
there's no
done any of that.
applications whatsoever.
no, they had They're working on that. That's a ag, they have
So-
a whole committee that they're working on and probably will be presenting them maybe next month.
March, hopefully the March meeting. So, yeah, and it's actually in there's a little tidbit on it in my report. The round 2 of the Jefferson County Food Resiliency Grant Programs, we handle those differently than the way we handle the marketing and the other grants. We do those all as a package. Right now, you saw me meeting with the extension folks yesterday. We were meeting to go through the process that we're working through, reviewing each application, going out, meeting each applicant, making sure we know exactly what they're talking about doing, and that they know the ins and outs. So yes, 500,000 for the.
My quick question is,
Sure.
does it look like from what you have in the hopper, you'll use it?
Oh,
It'll all be
Yeah,
used up?
from what I'm seeing, there'll
Easy.
probably be a couple
Okay.
that we
All
will.
right, that was my
Turn
bottom
away.
question. All right, okay. Thank you.
Any questions for marketing and or ARPA? I don't believe there's anything from council typically in this meeting. New business?
I just have a question. If anyone has heard or is familiar with, maybe Lisa, the Centers for Businesses in Transition. The chamber is hosting, I believe, an event for realtors. The group is from up north, like I think Lake Placid. And it really is, they're trying to bring businesses together, those that are selling, buying, and moving around. I just didn't know if we were familiar with that or if we're.
Yes, the Adirondack North Country Association, kind of,
Yep.
they've got funding to sponsor it, and they've got, like, Lewis County Chamber and our chamber involved in sort of like satellite representatives throughout the region.
Mhm.
We've actually referred a couple businesses to it. We're
Okay.
talking with one of our local dairy processing folks that we toured with recently. But basically, it's a program to help with, you've got an existing business, the owner's looking to retire or get out of it, sell it. And maybe it's to a family member, or maybe it's to someone else that's gonna purchase it. Like I just mentioned another day, someone else the other day is looking at possibly buying an existing business. Yeah, and they could basically provide guidance on what to, you know, the whole transition process, things to look for, you know, for moving forward.
That's kind of a pet project of Anka.
They had a
Been going on for
similar
a few
one
years.
up in the Adirondacks about a year ago, and it was pretty well attended. I think it was Saranac Lake is where they had it.
Yes, they hosted it, yeah.
Anything else? Would we like to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, first,
Second, Rob.
Rob is the second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
None opposed? Do we stand adjourned and move to our next? The Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency meeting is called to order, February 1, 2024. We've done our pledge. We do have a gas station privilege of the floor. I think there's a gas station.
Great.
Well, he's technically a gas station. Welcome regardless, but he's not part of it. Drive safely. Minutes on page 3. They've been received and reviewed, and if so, we have a motion to accept as presented.
So moved.
That's from John. Second.
Second.
Bill is a second. Any discussion, modifications, or questions? With that, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Paul, you're on page 6. Treasurer's report, please.
I'll start by asking a question. There's a new entry on the revenues, Dasney Airport Grant. Can you explain what that is?
Sure,
It's
yeah,
the
let's
first
talk
time
about
I've seen it. My
It's
time's
not
up.
mine.
Yeah, your time's up now. You can set those timers.
It's brand new, folks.
No.
It's just wait till next meeting. Yeah, actually, I was gonna mention that under new business, old business. So for work at the, you recall, the business complex where Commonwealth's going, we have a $500,000 grant from DASNY, this state municipal facilities program. We've got funding from ESD and the $500,000 going to the border grant. So we just submitted our first reimbursement request to DASNY for about $389,000.
It just fooled me because it shows up as the previous month. In the balance sheet, you'll see there's a significant change in the assets. Most of that's due to the DASNY and the closing in on Mars Marzano's, is it? And 3 Mile Bay Ventures, that shows a big swing in the assets. Other than that, the balance sheet looks in line. We do have one of our micro loan receivables. It's 4 months in arrears. Have we had contact with them?
Yes, we have.
Any positive news on?
No,
Okay,
no, that's, could be a problem. We're
it's
very close to turning that over for collection.
okay.
We restructured the loan once, and the payment is only $250 a month, and we're probably going to have to turn that over.
Okay. And the other one's been out there, Taste of Design, for a while too.
Yeah, that one is historically they've been slow, but good.
Okay. Other than those two items, the revolving loan funds are all current, so in month one.
Taste of Design, has that flipped? That's been,
That's been slow since the
no,
loan
but
originated.
It's the same owner, but I think they either brought in
Subleased.
those coffee roaster
Yeah.
business.
so it was operations in the back that changed hands, not the front.
Well, I don't know, because I've seen pictures of all of them together, so I don't know if the business
No,
bought it.
It's still owned by the Shaps.
Yeah,
It hasn't changed it.
but I don't know if they bought into this coffee roasting business,
I was,
but I did see that too.
when I saw that, I thought, well, maybe that will get rid of our delinquencies. Okay.
And that would be it for the treasury's report, and I'd move the treasury's report unless there's some more questions.
We have a second.
Second,
Lisa, Wills, any other discussion or questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That report carries. Committee reports, I don't know if there's anything in the first two, alternative energy incorporated.
Alternative energy, there's been no meetings, but I have sent something out to the members. Boralex is put in for an amendment to their permit to expand the project by another 20 megawatts. They've had a dropping of some new filings showing where the new arrays will be. I forwarded that to Jay. It looks like it's all ag lands they're adding in. They're taking some areas out, reducing certain areas, and they've changed it from let's say a 300 watt panel to a 600 watt panel. So it's a significant, they're trying to say it's a minor change. I don't know who all received Dave's email, but they had a conversation with Borlaug saying they were dropping the Sandy Creek project and moving it to Borlaug at the request of National Grid. But what bothers me is when you read the new filings, they don't mention that they're combining two projects into one for transmission reliability, but that was what Borlaug's told Dave. But they put in an amendment to their permit to expand it by 20 to 140 megawatts.
It was actually Jay that had a conversation with that forwarded that was from Jay. Right?
So
What are you hearing on, recently there was a round from NYSERDA, New York State, for power purchase agreements. And
I believe they put out a request for proposals that aren't going to come out until April.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There was a round, that was announced a few months back.
An accelerated
Borlaug
review
was
too.
one of those. AES had their projects were on that list.
Yeah.
Like they had like 3 or 4. I mean, it said several projects on the list.
Originally, Borlaug was a rec credit purchase. And then now it shows up that they converted to a strike price. And now if you go to NYSERDA's site, they show that they've withdrawn their application. So I assume they're going through the new round to get
I think that, yeah.
probably an enhanced payment because
Exactly.
they tried to get us to support an application to the Power Authority or NYSERDA to do an inflation adjustment to their previous award, which was shot down by the PSC. So I imagine they're going through that process, and I think it's an April release date of those awards.
But should they hit their mark, I think that's been somewhat of a choke point for the build out on some of these. If they end up with a power purchase agreement of 4.5 cents, 5 cents versus 3 cents, 2 cents, any speculation?
Well, they were getting their strike price was, let's say, just under $70 a megawatt. And if I understand, strike price is if the online price, let's say the grid price is $8.80, they'll only get the 60. But if it's 42, they get the 60. Is, I believe, how strike price works. Their original rec credit was $15, just under $15 a megawatt, which is like 1.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
They can't exist under that.
And there's been no negotiations with any of the jurisdictions on pilot agreements, and that could be months in the process to get anything like that approved.
I found it interesting. EDF sent out a community informational letter to the solar, or Tracy Solar. I assume maybe the town of Orleans. I don't know how far the circulation went. But they had it in the informational letter. They had the exact amount of pilot monies and host community monies that would be allocated over 20 years. It was $15 million.
Well, all the projects estimate the community benefits.
Well, they put it all in one sum over a 20-year period. All the benefit from the project equaled $15 million to the community. I started backing it out from what I knew would be taxes, and that included local land taxes. When I started backing all that out, it came right in at $3,500 a megawatt.
And I don't think you're going to get anyone to bite at that range.
No, no.
Why would we? I shouldn't say we. Why would a taxing jurisdiction? If you look, the state has also released the preliminary 2024 valuation model. Okay. So I don't know what Boralex's build out cost is at 140 megawatts, but with land using the new valuation model, it's going to value out at $60 million, which is about 6,000 a megawatt full taxation. Right now we're getting 5,500. You know,
The unknown is all they call, because you look at what's happening with the offshore wind, they make a deal, they go bankrupt, the state just throws a couple more billion at it just because it sounds good.
Well-
And that's really the problem, is the slush fund called taxes is a never ending stream of money to all, and that's the issue. That's really the unknown.
the reality is at 140 megawatts, it's probably $150–160 million project. It's going to pay
Right, for build out.
pay taxes, land included, at $60 million. So if you look at the value, they're going to be assessed at 30% of cost.
And they can't survive at that. So
They can't?
So they say.
Well,
So they say, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
It's going to be up for the
they can't
taxing
survive on it.
jurisdiction. We know what the county's position is. So, and with the schools and the failure for the state to deal with the tax cap implications, a lot of the schools are very nervous about year 16 of an ending of a pilot and having to do a tax cap override. That's going to be it. They're also worried about losing the growth factor. There's a lot of little things, like the town of Helmsfield. You know, if they do full taxation, it's not, their tax rate's $2 a thousand. So they're probably the lowest in there. So
Hey, anything
it'll be
else?
interesting discussions.
Corporate park, I know we have a letter that you sent to us. I don't know if we want to review that and if this is a good time to update on the sign as well, since it's part of the corporate.
Yeah,
park.
so a couple things. One, as you know, we reported a while back that someone under the Corporate Park Committee, we met with the town of Watertown Planning Board and Town Board. Had a good discussion on the language that we finally come to in the proposed amendments to the zoning law. Found out the other day they hadn't proceeded with it, so I talked to Joel Bartlett. He said, he explained it, why we needed it, so we agreed to send him a letter, so I sent him a request explaining, how it would be good to have the zoning amendments proposed, approved, so that zoning is consistent with our covenants. Assured them that it didn't remove any obligations that we had under the covenants, and so I think it's good to move ahead, but I'll see on top of that and see what happens. And then Rob asked about the sign for the culvert part. First, we want to finish building the turn lane. Right now, the only thing holding that up is for the county to begin work. And Jim has commented on the town of Water. The town of Watertown is also moving some lines out there, some infrastructure lines. We have to wait for those to get moved. National Grid has already moved the gas line and moved the power line. So once that gets moved, we should be getting that thing built this summer.
Can I, and since we're on the corporate park, this is a Justin question. We closed on the Lawler, or what's it, L2 or?
L2. I think it was.
Yeah,
called
now
L2.
it's W.
4X.
Okay.
4XL.
Oh, yeah, I saw the 4X. I thought there was like some other.
Yeah.
So my question is, so we closed on that one, we now have a lease back. Do we file the exemption application now, or do we wait till they get a CO on their structure?
We file it within 15 days of closing. That's the GMO requirement. So it goes to the assessor within 15 days of closing, and they essentially sit on it at March 1 taxable status at the state, and then they adjust the parcel to continued exempt status at that point. It was exempt when they purchased it. Oh, well, that was taxable. I'm thinking about across the street. I'm sorry. It'll be converted to exempt starting with school taxes, with the levy starting July 1st, and then town and county January 1.
Okay, my only thought is they're gonna until they build it, they're gonna get no benefits from our pilot agreement. Is that correct? Or do we
That's
start? Okay,
Yeah, they need to perform now to get all the benefits.
okay. That was my only question.
Okay. Christine, would you be prepared to review the loan review minutes, or either you or John, or I could do it. Dave and Kent aren't here, so.
Yep, that's
it's
fine.
one of us five.
My computer died,
Oh,
so
sorry.
that's okay.
I mean, I have mine open and whatever.
Go right ahead, since I don't have anything to look at. But, I mean, the overall was talking about Hales bus garage,
Mhm.
looking for the sales tax exemption, and which we loan review. I also was on Zoom, so it was hard to hear at the meeting.
Yeah.
But overall, we were presenting it to the full board for approval for their sales tax exemption. Since then, I think that Dave has had some conversations with the applicant.
Yeah, so there were some corrections when we talked, originally before we submitted the application, we just had some sales tax. And the form we actually sent in had also mortgage recording tax and pilots checked out. So we had to correct that. We have the corrected version signed off, re-signed and notarized, and clarified what he was looking for. So he's actually, as far as what he's doing for the product, he's originally planning to do 500,000 down on the project and then finance the rest of the project, about $2.5 million. So he has one loan with the bank. The bank is looking at providing additional financing. The Watertown Local Development Corporation has approved $250,000. So I was talking the other day, he'll probably be coming to us next month to make up the gap for what he was getting from the bank. So we'd be matching probably 200 to 250,000, similar to what the trust is doing. So wait for that application. But he is retaining about 20 jobs, creating another 10 to 15.
What's the nature of that business? Is he servicing for other bus lines?
The primary nature of the business is the transportation. Such. He's only about 6 people on staff that are actually mechanics. For this particular project, what you would call the service reception area is only about 10% of the project, and it can't be more than a third for it to be, to provide benefit to it. So he, as Chris has mentioned, did the loan review, the bus garage, he's basically maintaining their own fleet, but they also got contracts to maintain vehicles for DOT and for highway.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, people can come in driving off the street for repairs, but
Which is another good source of revenue.
It's a strong company. They originated in Clinton, New York. And
Right.
And they had been servicing through the coach business up here. So this was an opportunity for them really to get into the Northern Territory, and it worked out well for all parties involved. And he's strong. He's good. He knows what he's
So what
doing.
we've heard, they're happy with it. The community's happy with it. You know, the pre-existing business was on the verge of bankruptcy. We moved the job, so.
I like your cost benefit analysis. I mean, that's defendable with anybody.
So did he indicate, or were you talking about mortgage tax then after our further
Yeah,
discussion?
so basically the mortgage tax wouldn't be enough of a benefit when you look at the legal fees and everything that's involved, you know, for that small financing.
But even on
Yeah.
even on the 1.5?
Yeah, but ours the trust will be exempt anyway. so
Okay.
that-
Okay.
Yeah, but I discussed that with Jeff.
That'll be the next one, please. Any other questions on loan review? We do have a resolution. We'll do that according to the agenda a little bit later. A question for you, Dave, is there any update we need to offer on that?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to, just-
No, I was,
okay.
under new business, I was gonna clarify, so
Okay.
Marshall mentioned the, unfinished business, so the application that we're working on National Grid for the power infrastructure is actually something Marshall's working on behalf of Conval, because they're gonna be bearing the cost of running the power line from Patty Hill down to the site. And, but by all indications, things are moving ahead. Harry's shared with some new updated information that I mentioned to you all the other day. And hopefully he'll be closing on the financing by the end of April. So,
Thank you.
fingers crossed.
Any, I don't believe there's any
Yeah.
other unfinished business, just that?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. New business, we received kind of a primer to discussion we need to have. The need and a formation of a new LDC for the DeFerrier project, which is so far called DeFerrier Redevelopment LDC. The board can choose the proper name, but we need to discuss and determine the structure, who would be on it. Obviously, the need is there, but as a board, we need to agree how to approach this and then give council the leeway to start the formation process, and then we can vote on it and deal with it with the March meeting. Just kind of summarizing Dave's email to us. It's in the village of DeFerrier, but the town of Wilna would participate because some of the land is in the town outside the village. As I read this, so there was a strong desire to have the village, the town, and the county represented along with our agency, and it would be part LDC and part IDA. My original thought would be just to have the loan review committee plus those three, because it kind of falls into looking at some of the same things. We can, select the members based on people's time and interest to this, but that was my initial thing. Just pick one of our standing committees that meets pretty regularly. This wouldn't, I'm assuming, meet all that regularly, but have some pre-work and then maybe 6 months do nothing and then some
Sure.
work. That's my guess.
Yeah,
But
essentially.
I'll let you fill the blanks in from there.
Sure, and just for the public, I mean, what we're looking at is the county's in the process of foreclosing on the old DeFerrier Mill site. Hopefully they'll get, probably April or so, get title to that. The idea, I mean, the county doesn't want to be in the position of owning and managing the redevelopment of that property, so, and the county does have a $8.5 million Restore New York grant, we recall getting announced. So once the county forecloses, the idea is they would transfer ownership to a new LDC, and it'd be a new LDC as opposed to the current JCLDC or the IDA, just to protect our assets for that going on there. And that would be the entity that would be kind of responsible for overseeing the redevelopment of that site, working with NYSERDA, leasing it to NYSERDA while they develop a plan for a renewable energy project, and then leasing and or even possibly selling that project eventually to any other developer on the property. So for today, maybe just turn over to Joe and Justin, just talk about the process for formation. And we might talk about how we want someone to make it to be, and then probably look at having something more formal the next week.
I'm aware of the Brownfield opportunity study, and have they landed, or is that still yet to come, what they want to do with that property?
Still looking at.
They're still working at it, yep. So they're readapting. I mean, they're originally we were looking at, NYSERDA looking at maybe 10 to 20 megawatts of renewable energy could be on that site. And now looking at capacity, like one of the transmission lines has been removed because it's an old transmission line. So the 115 kV line, the 23.5 kV line is still there. That stuff means more to Bill than it does me. But basically, there's not as much power capacity. They want to make sure they don't want the power, any renewable energy project to be too big, because they don't want to impede. Brookfield's got a 10 megawatt hydro facility right there. They don't want to impede their ability to get power onto the grid too.
Right.
So
Which is really kind of closing the door for renewable energy development on that site. I mean, that could handle a 5 kW or a 5 megawatt.
yeah,
So-
but and we were concerned about that too. But next year, apparently, I think they might be able to offset that with some battery storage on that site, which is also needed for the grid. So that could be how they make up a reduced megawatts in terms of solar generation by having some larger battery storage there on site, perhaps. But all that stuff's still in work. They're still analyzing, so there's nothing definitive there. Brownfield opportunities area is a grant that the town got, and that's kind of a community-based program for kind of planning what the community might do, around the edges of the facilities like that. It's not dealing with the design of the remediation and cleanup of the project. So, but they're kind of somewhat related because they're all kind of tied.
Right.
With that, I don't know if Joe or Justin, whoever wants to lead the discussion and just walk us through
Yeah, sure.
what we need to do.
Yep, so me, Marshall, Dave, and Justin initially, and Justin, feel free to hop in if I miss any steps. We initially had a conversation, just kind of what the formation process looks like. So any local development corporation is a not-for-profit corporation, so it's going to require filing a certificate of incorporation with New York State. We discussed structurally making the IDA the member of the LDC, meaning that the IDA would be able to appoint the directors. It would be up to this board to determine how many directors we would want on the board. There's benefits and costs to having more board members and also less, which we can certainly go into if we need to. I mean, you just can imagine if the board's too big, it may be difficult to get consensus, maybe difficult to have quorums at meetings and things. There will need to be an initial meeting to adopt all the policies that are required under PAAA and PARA at first. Really it's up to this board to kind of give us some guidance on how many board members we want to have and also who we want to be on that board. There's some benefits too to having local buy-in, local town village buy-in on this. I'm sure that as we go through the process, there's going to be need to be some local municipal approvals at both the town and village level. So to the extent they have voices, those approvals may be easier rather than harder to get. I don't know the zoning of this site, so I don't know what particularly may be involved. I'm assuming at the very least probably a zone change and possibly site plan approval and things like that. But that's it. I mean, we're really just looking for guidance from you all as far as number of board members and who serves on that board. Certificate of incorporation can be filed pretty quickly. We can have the organizational docs and everything prepared shortly after that. But that's kind of what we're looking for. Justin, if I'm missing anything, feel free to hop in.
Yeah, what he said, that was a good summary.
Okay. If the IDA is the member gets to appoint, or like some of our other committees, are we allowed to appoint IDA and LDC members or only IDA members?
No, you can appoint. The IDA will be able to appoint
Anybody, anyone
yes.
that either that, because like my initial thought was like loan review, we have a mixture of LDC and IDA to have,
Sure.
The right strengths, and actually
Yep.
LDC is really the owner of the IDA.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things where it's backwards that the IDA is always the sole.
This is no different than any of your other LDCs, so you
it
can treat it the same
It can
way.
be an either or.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm guessing you probably got a mixture of board members that would want to be involved.
Yeah, and if we don't need to deal with like names, or we just need to deal with what today? Number of members, or what do you want?
I mean, name would be nice too. I don't know if you want to come up with some creative name or
Diego, John Smith, we can give you those names.
prefer not to use a personal name.
I would think you'd want to have by position, like the mayor of the Fariat, the supervisor of the town of Wilna. Do it by position, so as they change, there's some continuity in the approval process.
David's already approaching the mayor and the
I talked
supervisor.
to Paul Smith, the Willow Supervisor, he's interested, would prefer to be on it. And then the mayor, there's a new mayor for DeFeriot. I've kind of responded, I'm going to meet with him next Monday.
My thought is though, instead of saying
Yes.
Paul Smith,
Yes.
the mayor of
Right.
the village of
Yeah.
DeFeriot, so there's a change. I don't have a problem with those individuals.
Right.
And you mentioned Bill, another meeting Bill.
Yeah.
But the chairman of the legislature as a, by title,
Yeah.
not by name.
Yeah, no, we'll let the
Well-
county decide if it's the chair position or,
Yeah.
but at this point.
Chair
I think he's already drawn the short straw, so.
Well, I corresponded with Bob Hagman, Bill, and Dave Paulson, the county attorney, about if they wanted Bill as a rep or some other appointee of the legislature, if it should be Bob or Dave Paulson. And they felt Bill, because he's on the board here, so it may be the county chair or whoever the representative is on the IDA at the time, if it changes in the future. But
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
But they felt
we got-
that Bob and Dave Paulson felt they would be involved as staff anyway, so we would also need them on board.
So we have those three positions by title, if you wanna call it that, and then we just have to
I
round
think
out.
7's a good number.
I
You
think
get too
7, so
big,
we
then
just
you got
need,
quorum issues.
We just need, four more. I would like to see a mixture of the LDC and the IDA, because I think we have so many nice strengths between the collective boards.
The name Defarian should be in it.
And
It's a start.
we can go from there. So I'll start with looking for volunteers. 2 from the LDC and 2 from the IDA.
I would volunteer.
What are
Okay, we got
the,
one
uh,
IDA.
Are these daytime meetings or in the evening? Do we not know at this point?
We don't know.
Don't know that.
They're gonna be at the least convenient time, Rob. No matter what we tell you. And Zoom is allowed, because I think by state law, right, we only need to have 4 in the room of this group.
Yeah, if you
If
adopt
it's
the policy, yeah, you can do that. So.
So with that scenario, kind of 7 or 8, the board, our entities wouldn't comprise much more than half of their board, half of that.
We would have a majority. There'd be 4 from our collective group, and then 1 town, 1 village, and 1 county, which again, if it's Bill's already on our board, so we'd be 5 and 2. But Bill's more acting as the county representative in this particular capacity.
So the local input to the board would only, for the most part, specifically.
Village and town,
would
the
just
village
be
mayor and the town.
The mayor and the supervisor.
That was what Dave's original, again, it's up to this board to determine if we want to expand that, that's great, but.
I would say supervisor, mayor, and the county representative on the AD board.
And we have 1 from the IDA.
Does that make sense? I mean, just in case you end up staying on this board, and sometimes I don't want to get chair anymore, we have another chair, but they can go someone else.
So when you say county representative, you're talking from the town of.
No, county is Jefferson.
Whoever the county
Jefferson
representative, because the county chair appoints.
So
representatives to our
you'll be
board.
representing
County
everybody,
representatives on our board.
local and county
Yeah.
at that point.
So
And then we'll.
you don't have to volunteer.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, so we have 1 from the LDC.
I'd love to.
You
but
seem
I
interested.
can't- I am interested, but I've got scheduled other board meetings on certain days and I can't. have
Well,
those
this is,
conflicts.
this is a new activity.
So,
Who did you have, Wilson?
I'll serve
Lisa,
if you need
you-
somebody or somebody
I
else.
did have my hand
Lisa
up.
had her
too.
hand up.
Oh, you did?
So,
I'm
but it
sorry,
doesn't
I didn't
matter.
see
I
you.
don't,
No, let Lisa.
I didn't see you, Lisa. Okay, so so Joe, we have John Canino and Lisa Lullier from IDA, and so far Christine from
it's
LDC,
good makeup.
and Rob is on the fence, and Greg. And
Oh,
Ken.
come on, Rob.
Greg and Ken are the only other 2 that,
Perfect.
I will nominate
Your
one of the
background, actually.
non-attendees.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And then we will clearly,
Mr. Converse. he should
well, no,
have
he's
to-
IDA, so I'm trying, I mean, it's not, I don't have to have a mixture, but I like, we have so many good strengths, but, and if all else fails, I'll fill the vacant position too. if
Actually, Dave's willing,
necessary.
it'd be good just because of some of the environmental stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of environmental stuff. I mean, if
I think
you
Dave
could
would
just
be, I
put-
think
if-
Dave would be a perfect choice.
Put Dave's name down. He didn't show
He's
up.
not here.
He didn't show up.
I
That's his
nominate Dave.
problem.
Yes, volunteer.
Okay, all in favor, yes.
He can decline later.
Aye.
He can always
Yeah.
decline later. So I think we have 4 named positions, and then by title, which good point, Paul, mayor of the village of DeFerrier, the town.
I think it should be
supervisor.
mayor designee. If Bill wanted to
Okay.
appoint
Yeah.
somebody else
So-
from the county,
Okay.
and the mayor wanted to have a trustee do it,
Yeah,
who cares?
so village of DeFerrier, mayor designee, town of Wilna supervisor designee, and Jefferson County designee, if that's the right term. but I think that allows.
So 7-member board.
It's 7 is really a good amount, because I think getting 4 people in the room at the same time, I'm assuming these will all be I mean, we didn't know where the meetings would be, most likely here, but, and that's a hell of a drive for Barry to Wilna.
So who were the other ones then?
Taking card.
By name, John?
It's not that far. Hello, Water Tower.
Christine.
And
No, I think it was
Dave.
Lisa, John, Dave,
Lisa.
and Christine.
Thought that.
Well,
But you
Well,
might-
Ed said,
Well,
he gave it to Lisa.
I didn't know.
Oh,
that's why I know.
I think.
Yeah, it doesn't, it really doesn't matter.
Okay,
Right.
I mean,
they could co-share one position.
I think it would be too. But
And then the designees that we spoke about. So that'll give us the 7 board person structure. And what we have to do is just again figure out like where, when, the other things, because obviously the rest of the boards can participate.
So is that gonna be,
I can just come up with a name, and if we don't like it, we can change it the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, Dave threw out the redevelopment LDC.
That's fine.
I mean, that's descriptive. You can't mince what it's trying to do. But
it's better than Rob's LDC.
there you go. 4XL.
So is that gonna be a 4th meeting? Are we gonna have the meetings as part of this overall, since it really is a sub LDC to the IDA, or is this gonna be something that's gonna be operated differently? That
I
John's
think
just
by
gonna
open
give us a
meetings, I'm
monthly
guessing
report?
We have a charter, we have to have our own meeting is my guess. You tell me.
Yep, no, it's subject to open meetings law, just like your other LDCs and your IDAs, so it's up to the board as far as when they want to have their meetings or when it wants to have its meetings. They do have to be noticed, like in accordance with open meetings law, so you gotta give at least reasonable notice before the meeting.
It'll be on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
There you go. That makes it, I mean, that'd be great for me, then I don't have to.
I would think we don't really have that JCCFDC very often. We can just have it in place of or after that, because that meeting is usually 3 minutes long.
And this may not
anyway.
necessarily be a monthly meeting.
Oh,
either,
God,
but,
no.
you know,
Yeah, I mean,
And we can pick the location, doesn't have to be here if it's easier for some of these people in the village.
Yeah, but that would open up a difficulty if we're trying to have it after these meetings.
Yeah.
We're all here,
Gotcha.
the
Yep.
forum's here, but the meeting is somewhere else, and that would create a great
Understood.
difficulty.
I think it makes most sense to have this be the office, or
Exactly.
just this,
Yeah.
the mailing address and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
No, but we'll have to work out the.
Do we want to use this office as the address for the LDC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that would work well. And certain
You like
monthly
those
meetings, they'll be on the agenda, and certain ones they
It's
won't.
not much nicer, although the parking's a bit crappy,
Yeah.
unless you have a special pass.
All roads lead
Yes.
to Water
It's
Tower.
all across the street now.
Not
Yeah,
that
well.
far.
If you're a member,
Oh, my goodness.
All I do is drive up, push the button, say, hi, I'm Bill Johnson.
There you go.
Open the gate.
Well, they might not open the gate some days. Anything else under, the LDC, from council? Did we give you what you need to kind of proceed to the next step?
I'm good to go. Yeah, thank you all.
And then,
Appreciate it.
Joe?
Dave, you're gonna pursue,
That's
continue to
fantastic.
pursue village and town.
Town's on board,
Do that,
because we're doing a bond, so.
Is it a fair assessment to maybe comprehend they may start cleanup in there this year, this summer, fall?
Possibly, the idea is once the county gets, control, we'll work on getting an RFP out for the cleanup of the site, so hopefully we'll be smart.
It could be going on this summer.
All right.
You know, I could get contacted by potential contractors that do that kind of work, I suppose. There's no RFP out yet.
That brings us to the final matter for today, unless there's other new business, the project authorizing resolution, any other new business? Okay. Joe or Justin, is there any preamble that you need to give? I mean, we already went through this in loan review. This is the authorizing resolution, sales tax exemption only. Is there anything else you need to offer?
No, that's a good summary. It's up to $100,000 in sales tax benefits for the Watertown bus facility. No